Just a few weeks ago, I experienced Magic Kingdom's newest roller coaster, TRON Lightcycle Run. Since its opening, it's gotten mixed reviews from riders, some loving it, while others complaining it was underwhelming and over too quick. So what do I think? Is this Magic Kingdom's best coaster? This is my full review of TRON Lightcycle Run. Before we start on the layout of the ride and some categories, let's talk about the entry experience to the ride. After entering Magic Kingdom, TRON is located in Tomorrowland, to the right of the castle. After passing Space Mountain's entrance, TRON is located down its own narrow pathway. It's pretty hard to miss, considering the highest point on the ride is a massive cloud-like structure. It's an awesome first impression. The ride isn't super tall, but it definitely looks like it from the ground. The pathways are elevated so guests are over top, under, and right next to the main turnaround and launch sequence. TRON basically is located in its own section of the park. Yes, it's technically part of Tomorrowland, but when you're in the structure, it's a massive area of winding paths, and it feels secluded from the rest of Magic Kingdom. But one of my main problems with TRON is its queuing experience. Now, this is a review of the ride experience, but I felt like I should mention the virtual queue system. Basically, at 7 a.m. and 1 p.m., you can log into the Disney Experience app and join a virtual queue for TRON. However, these spaces are extremely limited, so if you're a few seconds late, you can miss your chance to ride TRON for the day. Because of this system, we actually didn't get to ride Guardians of the Galaxy at Epcot. The app actually crashed when we tried to join the virtual queue for Guardians because of so many people joining the app. I understand the virtual queue is meant to keep a ton of people from storming the queue lines, and I will admit, we only waited around 30 minutes for TRON, when we probably would have waited 2 hours at least if there wasn't that system in place. However, I feel like allowing the queue to be open would be better for park guests so everyone has a chance to ride TRON, considering it's the biggest ride in the park. If the line gets ridiculously long, they can close it to limit more guests from joining in. I feel like this would be a better system than the virtual queue line, as it would allow everyone to get a chance to ride, and will eliminate some technology issues that the app has. But those are just my opinions. Definitely leave a comment below on the virtual queue system. Moving on to the queue itself, after waiting outside for a bit, you enter the indoor section of the queue, the first section of which takes place over the launch track. After a few switchbacks, you enter a quick pre-show section where you are informed about Team Blue before the doors slide open and you enter the station area. This is cool because a video of the launch sequence plays right as the doors open. The queue bends downward into the dual loading station where you board your trains. For those unfamiliar, the trains are motorbike style trains, so it may be uncomfortable for some riders. Basically, riders lean forward with a bar that pulls down in front of them, which also locks a back brace on the rider. Additionally, the legs are locked with a pull-down bar behind the knee, so it's a bit of a tight fit, but I personally thought the ride was very comfortable, especially because it isn't that intense of an experience. However, there is normal sitting cars on the back of every other train for those who can't fit in the tighter motorbike seats. Now let's get into the layout. After boarding on either side of the station, the track aligns and turns into the launch area, situated underneath the queue line. After a brief build-up and countdown, riders are launched up to 60 miles per hour.
Initiate in 3, 2.
This launch is pretty fast, but it feels a lot faster because of the motorcycle seating. The launch actually isn't that intense, but it's forceful for Disney standards. Riders rise up through the iconic turnaround over the pathway, before diving downward and rising up into the main show building. The train enters a straight section of the ride, where the light show first begins. Then, riders dive downwards and to the left, passing through the first gate. This show building is awesome, as there are many gates around the track that have sound effects when passing through them.
First energy gate captured.
There are also engine revving sound effects, and a sweet soundtrack playing in the background. The train dives through the first gate before rising to the right and passing over some arrows leading around the turn. The train then passes gate 2 before hitting a small brake run. This brake run goes straight towards a mirror where riders can see their train in the left before it turns away at the last second. This turn leads under some hexagons before turning with the arrows to the right. Riders pass through gate 4 before wrapping around to the left through gate 5. Another brake run and mirror leads the train to the left and near a massive screen where a vehicle passes and follows the train. This is a very cool visual. Finally, the train passes through the last gate and turns quickly to the right, following another screen before entering what looks like a warp tunnel. It's a cool effect, and this tunnel has the final brake run of the ride, where you are thanked for riding with Team Blue.
users. A championship performance and victory for Team Blue.
TRON's layout is pretty simple, just a lot of turns and minor drops, but with the lighting effects and super unique seating arrangement, alone the layout isn't that great, but with the effects, it's amazing. Now let's talk through some categories. It's hard to grade TRON with my typical category, so there are a couple of different categories compared to some of the other reviews. Our first category, since this is Disney, of course has to be theming. This is a Disney coaster, so the theming is top notch. Starting from walking up to TRON, it's basically its own area. The queue line experience is awesome, with a sweet build-up over the launch, a pre-show with opening doors as the launch occurs, and an awesome soundtrack. Not to mention all of the arrows, screens, mirrors, and lighting effects in the actual show building and in the launch. Overall, the theming is amazing and gets a 10 out of 10. Next up is the launch category, and TRON gets a 7 out of 10. Now, compared to rides like Top Thrill Dragster, or even a ride like Flight of Fear, the launch doesn't feel nearly as powerful. However, it still has some kick to it, and especially in that seating arrangement, the force feels very weird, as you're getting pushed back into the back brace. It's an interesting but very fun feeling, and not uncomfortable at all. Next up is pacing, which I kept in from the other reviews. The main complaint of TRON is the length, as the ride isn't very long for Disney standards. However, when on the ride and after the actual experience, I thought the ride was worth my wait, and was a decently long experience. Most of the complaints talking about the length seem to be from people who haven't actually ridden the ride. Overall, there are a lot of brake runs throughout the ride, but the train keeps a decent speed throughout the whole show building, and with the lighting, the ride feels a lot faster than it actually is. TRON gets an 8 out of 10 for pacing. Transitions are up next, and TRON gets a 9 out of 10. TRON is definitely not about transitions, and is more about the whole experience, but the transitions are very good. They aren't whippy or anything, but they are smooth, comfortable, and have very good shaping, especially the first couple of turns. This leads into comfortability, where TRON gets an 8 out of 10. If this was smoothness, TRON would get a perfect score, as this may be the smoothest coaster I've ever ridden. Great for Vekoma. However, with the way the trains are set up, some riders may find the restraints very restricting on their back and legs. It's definitely a weird setup and not for everyone. I personally found the ride very fun, but I could see how some of the turns may cause some back pain if not careful. And that leads into the final category, intensity, where the ride will get a 7 out of 10. TRON is definitely not the most intense ride. However, there are a couple of downwards turns where the valleys have some pretty strong positives. This can lead to some of the pain previously mentioned, but I think this is a massive plus, especially in a park geared towards families. There are even some laterals on the low outdoor part. However, the main intense moment is the launch, where riders are slammed into the back brace. This is pretty forceful for Disney. A lot of the intensity comes from the seating arrangement and being in such a tight show building where you can't really see where the turns are. So finally, what are my overall thoughts on TRON? I was blown away by TRON, and it even places in my top 50. The theming and walk up to the ride experience was awesome, and I was super excited to ride. The ride experience was amazing, with the lighting inside the building, and my whole group was stunned with the experience. And while some definitely wouldn't like it, I loved the seating setup, as it made the ride even more extreme, and it was definitely my favorite ride at Disney. Again, we didn't ride Guardians because of the terrible virtual queue system, which is really my only gripe with TRON. The queuing system sucks, but the ride experience is perfect for Disney. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Comment what you think of TRON, and have a great rest of your day.